Absolutely massive news dropped earlier today, sending the video game industry into a state of shock as PlayStation announced that they will be skipping E3 2019, prompting questions of, what is going on? Is E3 dead? Does Sony really have not anything new to show? Does this finally put the last nail in the coffin for PlayStation in 2019? And how can Xbox capitalize on Sony not appearing at the biggest event next year? We're going to get into that all right now. What is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. Man, absolutely huge news. Nobody expected this to drop on a Thursday. Sony not attending E3 2019? It's crazy, right? But let's actually read the quote here from Sony and the reasons why they gave for not showing up. And they go on to say, as the industry evolves, Sony Interactive Entertainment continues to look for inventive opportunities to engage the community. PlayStation fans mean the world to us, and we always want to innovate, think differently, and experiment with new ways to delight gamers. As a result, we have decided not to participate in E3 2019. We are exploring new and familiar ways to engage our community in 2019 and can't wait to share our plans with you. When asked if Sony would push its events off-site, similar to how Electronic Arts provides a show adjacent to E3, PlayStation Senior Vice President of Communications Jennifer Clark elaborated further, saying, "We will not activate or hold a press conference around E3." So there you have it, folks. They won't even be there. They will be completely silent. They're not going to do anything in or around E3. And this is absolutely huge news. And honestly, I don't even know where to start about this. I guess you can immediately start by saying, what is Sony doing here? Is this a more of a issue of them not having the PS5 ready to show in 2019 and launched in 2019? Is this the final coffin in those hoping that we would see a reveal of the console next year and the release of the console next year? Because logic says, hey, if you have a brand new product to release, you're going to want to show it off as much as possible. And why bother? Why skip the biggest event, biggest conference of the year if you're going to be releasing a new product? So I think this is basically Sony saying, yeah, we're not ready to show PS5 yet, and don't look for it until 2020. And of course, then you have other people saying, you know what? Maybe they don't have any games to show. We've already seen them rely really heavily on The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, and Death Stranding in recent years. And I included the little snippet here of their E3 press conference last year where people were wondering, what exactly is Sony doing? They said they're trying something differently, and they got destroyed for it because they held a non-traditional conference, mainly because the games that they have left to show, they've been showing since 2016. And people, even though those games are going to be great whenever they come out, people want to see new things, and Sony just doesn't have any new things to show. All the new things they're working on are for next generation PlayStation 5, but the PlayStation 5 looks like it's not ready to come out until 2020. Now, of course, this could also speak to a more irrelevance of E3. Electronic Arts left. Now Sony's not going to be there. It seems that E3 isn't as big as it once was, which is understandable in the age of Twitter and Twitch, where you can put your own event on at whenever you want and dominate the news headlines. So maybe Sony thinks to themselves, you know what? We're going to save money by not going to E3. We'll have our own dedicated fan event, and we'll just stream it on Twitch, and we'll be the center of attention. Why bother sharing the news cycle with Xbox, Nintendo, and all the different game companies at E3 when we can just dominate it ourselves? It's an interesting counterpoint, but of course, if they're skipping E3 because they don't have anything brand new to show, then they also wouldn't have anything brand new to show at their own event. So it makes you really wonder the reasonings behind all of this, right? And while I do agree E3 is becoming less relevant year after year, I mean, even Microsoft kind of stepped away, even though they still hold a conference. And they got killed last year, if you recall, when they didn't have a booth. If you guys remember, Microsoft held their conference at the Microsoft Theater across the street. But for a long time, people were wondering if they were even going to be at E3 because the floor plans came out and Microsoft didn't have a presence. And people made fun of the fact that they had such a tiny booth space, right? But at least Microsoft was there. Microsoft had their entire booth at the Microsoft Theater. They had a conference for gamers and Xbox fans to watch. Sony is not even going to have any of that. There's going to be no conference. There's no floor space. They are just going to be ghosts. Now, this could turn out really well for them, where if E3 is entirely crap, people will be like, man, you know, without Sony, E3 sucks. But the flip could happen, where Microsoft puts on an amazing show and all these other companies show great games, and they're like, you know what? Who needs Sony? Look at all these great things coming to Nintendo and Microsoft and from the third parties. We don't need Sony. So it's kind of like, you better be careful what you're doing here. So in my opinion, this really does speak to E3 becoming less relevant, really costly. Why not just do your own show? I also think that this is the nail in the coffin for PlayStation 5 coming out in 2019. I've been leaning more towards 2020, and this kind of just reaffirmed it. They ain't ready to show it. It's not coming out next year, because if it was, you damn well know they'd be having a conference. And Sony's kind of been not really doing shows lately. They canceled PSX 2018. They didn't really show up to Paris Games Week like they did last year to show off Ghost of Tsushima. Now they're not going to E3 next year. It just raises a lot of questions and speculations about what they are doing. And it's pretty crazy. You know, I watch E3 to see all the great third-party games that are going to be showed off at Sony and Microsoft stage, including all the great new exclusives from both companies that they're going to present as well. And now it's just going to be Microsoft. So the other part of the question I wanted to ask is, like, how can Microsoft capitalize on Sony not being there? Now think about it. They kind of shared in their conferences the games. The third-party games would come, you just have some at Microsoft and some at Sony's. But now Sony's gone. So Microsoft's the only game in town. While sure, you'll have EA show off their games at their press conference and Ubisoft will show off their games. Other than that, there are some big titles that still need to be revealed. You have Rocksteady's game that's been rumored for a while. Who knows what else off just the top of my head. And those games, while normally might go with Sony, now really have no other choice, especially if they're launching next year or launching early 2020 to want to get some visibility, to basically go to Microsoft and be like, hey, we want to show off our game and you're the only one here. So now Microsoft really has the pick of the litter and the attention focused on them to put out an amazing show. It's really important. And in fact, Phil Spencer tweeted earlier today that he's looking forward to E3 and all that stuff. Right? Now, Microsoft can't, you gotta take this opportunity and grasp it and be like, all right, we are going to kill this. We are going to really show why people need an Xbox or Windows 10 in the future with some great exclusives. And we're going to show off some amazing third-party stuff that normally might be at Sony's. I mean, Xbox kind of comes out on the winning side on this one here just because Sony's not showing up to play. Ah, man. I didn't really expect this at all. I had planned a different video, which I guess I'll put out tomorrow. But of course I had to talk about this. This is unprecedented. This is the first time in E3's 24-year history that Sony's not going to be there. They've been there the last 24 years. It's honestly pretty amazing and incredible, to me at least, that Sony is skipping E3. I mean, they are number one in the video game industry, right? They have sold the most units, and E3 is the show. It's the number one trade show for the video game industry. And for them to skip sends really a strong message. It sends a message to E3 and ESA who runs it, like, we don't need you. We are bigger than you. And that could come back to bite them in the ass or not, because now you're going to have a whole bunch of PlayStation fans who want to watch E3. They won't have anything to watch. The only thing they're going to be able to watch now is Xbox. So of course, there'll be a lot of people hating on Xbox, even if it is the best show they ever put on, just because they're going to be pissed off that Sony decided to take their ball and go home. Now, of course, I guess it's entirely possible they have a show somewhere else, a smaller event. Maybe they do a Nintendo Direct-like event where they just speak to their fans. But if they really don't have any new games to show, like I talked about earlier, then they're really going to have a problem with that Direct, showing off those same games. I guess this is kind of the issue you have when you blow your load in 2016 and announce all your games for the rest of the generation, and then keep on going back to the well year after year after year. And then you have fans asking, where's all the new stuff? But of course, then you're not ready to show off your new stuff because you need a console to show that off, and the PlayStation 5 isn't ready yet. Pretty incredible stuff in my opinion, and Xbox, I think, can capitalize on this. They can take all of that third-party goodness, the creme de la creme that maybe would go with Sony, put it in their show off some great first-party announcements, and just dominate E3 because nobody's going to be talking about Sony. So Microsoft, the ball's in your court now, and you better bring home a game winner. Alright guys, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you think about Sony skipping E3. Pretty crazy, right? Make sure to leave a comment and I'll check it out. Share this out on Twitter and social media with a buddy. I'd greatly appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Hit that notification bell if you always want to be notified when I drop new videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.